Slow and steady wins the race. Slow and steady. Now, there is no race, right? There is no race. Like there's no hurry. But the premise is that slow and steady is what keeps you going, right? That is how your nervous system is going to love it the best and not freak out at any big changes that you make. Slow and steady. Hey there, welcome to the Female Health Solution podcast, where we discuss women's health, hormones, and everything else in between. Join me as we dive into the tools that you need to live your healthiest life. How do you recover from the holidays? How do you get through all the things? How do you get through and restart your year and get going when you're like, okay, this was kind of a wild ride. This was a lot. The holidays for people overall, let me just get a little more comfy here. The holidays for people, what I have heard, was people saying like, oh yeah, no, it was good. And this part was good, but wow, just so much with the busyness. And I really feel like, especially after the last few years, people really trying to reconnect in person, do what's best for them and their families and have those special times and create memories and all these wonderful things, right? Because several years ago, that was not something that was encouraged or you were looked down upon, right? Like, okay, so we're really trying to get back into the swing of things of creating these special memories and everything. But that also means that life can be very stressful then. And I don't know about you, but for me to go from Thanksgiving being really late this year, again, I'm using air quotes because, it just felt like there was Thanksgiving and then it was 3 weeks and then it was Christmas and it just didn't feel like enough time, right? It felt like I was missing at least a weekend or two to be fully prepared. And then there's all these other things. Like I know people that had holiday events starting from mid-November all the way through past New Year's, just about every weekend with friend groups, family, work events, all this other stuff. And there were all things. I remember this gal, she was saying, it's so busy. It's insane. She goes, I have to take a day off of work just to make sure I am ready for all of these other parties. And she goes, there are parties. I was like, yeah, but I mean, can you not go to some of them? And she was like, well, yeah, but I actually really want to go. I haven't seen some of these people in years, or I did see them and, I didn't get to connect, or I'm really excited about these, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, it's just one season, or it's just this one weekend, or I can make this work. And yes, right? Yes. But also realize that there are things like this that it wears on you. And this is for a reason. So she ended up going to pretty much all of her events. And that was the compromise, is that she took some time off of work during the week just so she could get her errands run and do all this other stuff. But it's crazy. It's just crazy. That stress, even though it can be a fun thing, it's still an extra thing for us to work on, right? It's still something else. It's still something else on our schedule. What our bodies love, what our nervous system loves, what our cortisol response loves is routine. It loves routine. It loves to wake up at the same time, do very similar, healthy daily activities, go to bed at the same time. It loves to be able to expect what's going to occur for the day, all this other stuff. Yeah. That's what your nervous system loves. So anything outside of that can add stress, even if it's positive. But again, imagine now with the holiday season, it feeling so close together, all of these other events, the holidays were on weird days in the middle of the week. So it kind of throws people off with a lot of stuff. So what do we do? What do we do? How does your system respond, and how can it really be that stressful? Well, listen, there's so many things that we do on a regular basis anyway to keep up with XYZ, to transition in seasons and all this other stuff. There's so many things that we already do. And then to add in a day for a holiday where you are, not working or whatever, and say, oh, you have a day off of work, but do you really? Because then there's the extra things that have to happen. Unpacking decorations, setting things up. There's time and energy and effort that goes into that. Extra grocery shopping and baking and preparing and cooking and the mental labor that goes along with all of that. I want that to be a significant thing. Even if you're like, well, we do this all the time. I do this every year. I take out the decorations, da, da, da. There is still mental effort that goes into that. That is part of the stress that gets added on. And it has felt like really short, meaning you didn't get stressed from just Thanksgiving and then you got a little breather and then you had Christmas. It's like Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, boom, 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 with all the stuff. So it's a lot. How do you get your system to recover? Well, one of the first things I'm going to suggest is that you really evaluate how you're going into your January. And I know a lot of people will, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to start going to the gym and I'm going to, work out a ton and I'm going to go to the gym every day, or I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week. And you want to add something into your schedule right away. I'm going to recommend something that's the opposite. I'm going to recommend taking something away first before working on adding something in. Because adding something in is an added stressor. And just going to the gym and working out really hard, and I ate all these cookies and all this stuff, and I got to go, 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 go. I got to start January off right. Seasonally, and especially for women, that is not the right thing to do. This is a hibernation period, a rest, repair, time. Inwardly reflect. I'm not saying don't go to the gym. I'm not saying don't be active. If you do something, I would add in, right, only after you've taken something away, meaning there are some people who do dry January. They take away alcohol or they're cutting out sugar. Great. That's a change that your nervous system has to keep up with then. I would then add in a really good sleep routine and then look at adding in that regular exercise. When I say these things, you can start with it and have it just be the priority and focus, right? It doesn't matter if you're going to the gym and you're forcing yourself to go to the gym, if you're throwing off your blood sugar imbalance and then you binge on a bunch of cookies at night again, right? I'm not saying this from a caloric input. I'm saying this from a stress standpoint and what sugar does to stress. So to start with all this stuff, start with working on your nervous system first. What's going to help your nervous system feel calm, regulated, even, and be something that can continue forward. That's really, really important. How do I know what my nervous system is doing? How do I know what my stress levels are? Dutch test. Dutch test. That way we can understand exactly what your nervous system is doing. We can target things. We don't guess. And you know exactly how to take care of yourself moving forward. One of the most common things that I see when someone is in complete adrenal fatigue, which is something I see a lot this time of year, is that women will say, I feel tired. I feel sluggish. I feel puffy. I've got a pouch on my belly. I don't feel like myself. It's my cortisol. Yep. Okay. Agree. But they will be in such adrenal fatigue, in such low levels, HPA axis dysfunction, my friends, that they will think, and what they will hear from a lot of other people is, we'll go to the gym and work out, go to the gym and work out, be more active, get out there and do things, da, 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 da. No, that is the opposite. You are burning yourself out faster. You are going to shut down your metabolism faster and harder. Figure out what your system needs to move forward first. Things that will help high cortisol and low cortisol, of course, are things like dry brushing. This is really helpful for the nerve senses on your skin. This helps lymphatic drainage, helps to push excess cortisol out of your system, all these other wonderful things. I can't say enough good things about that dry brushing. I will always, always, always promote the adrenal balance tincture. This is good for both high and low cortisol. So you can utilize this. Nutrient dense foods, organ meats, right? Leafy greens, animal proteins, minerals, getting more minerals in. Yes, great. Those are basic things that you can do. But if you're saying, gosh, I do a lot of that already, I eat really well already. Yeah. Shoot. Then get a Dutch test. Otherwise, you're just kind of running in circles, you know? It is a lot. And getting into this new year, I know a lot of us have certain goals or expectations or which is a wonderful thing to do. But oftentimes if you start off, 100 miles an hour, you're not going to get there. The perfect example I have of this is the tortoise versus the hare. Tortoise versus hare. Most people are familiar with that when I say it. I'm going to recap it really, really quickly. I believe it's an Aesop's fable. Aesop's one of the Aesop's fables. A hare, a rabbit, is bragging to a tortoise, a turtle, how fast he is, all these things, and the tortoise is like, okay, let's race. So that they do a race, a foot race, right? Starting line, go, and the rabbit takes off super, super fast, books it, leaves the turtle in the dust, and the turtle's like, burp, 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 burp. One little step at a time. The hare gets so far ahead. He looks back. He's like, oh my gosh. And it's really his attitude. I don't think that everybody has an attitude issue with this, right? We more or less burn ourselves out too quickly. But he decides to take a rest on the side of the road, takes a nap under a tree. He's like, I'm so fast. I even have time for a nap and I could still win this race. He falls asleep and takes a nap. He's asleep for like an hour. During that time, the tortoise, what does he do? Slowly and steadily, step by step, keeps going, passes the hare taking a nap. Now, I vividly have this picture in my head of the book when I was little that had this story in it of the hare like leaning back up against a tree and just like Z's coming out of his mouth, sleeping. It was very funny. And the tortoise is moving along. And the hare realizes that when he wakes up, that the tortoise is almost to the finish line. So he runs as fast as he can, but the tortoise crosses the finish line first. Slow and steady wins the race. Slow and steady. Now, there is no race, right? There is no race. Like there's no hurry. But the premise is that slow and steady is what keeps you going, right? That is how your nervous system is going to love it the best and not freak out at any big changes that you make. Slow and steady. That's it. That's one of the best things. So learning what to do first, learning where to start. Because again, if you have adrenal issues, adrenal fatigue, one of the worst things you can do is force yourself to go to the gym a ton, and crank your system out of control. Don't do that. Stop doing that. Figure out what's going on first, and then you know how to take the right next steps forward and get the support that you need along the way. So that's what I got for you guys today. Please, let me know if you have any other questions. I know I throw out some, generalized things. I talk about dry brushing. I talk about other tinctures, things like that are really, really helpful to add in, layer in, of course. If you want me to deep dive into why these specific things, the ashwagandha and the maca and everything, the kava kava is so good for your nervous system, I absolutely can. I love talking about that stuff. Let me know. But otherwise, thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Oh, wait, one more thing. To get your own Dutch test, you know where the links are. You know where stuff is. Go click on the links, get your own Dutch test. If you haven't had a test or you haven't had a test in a while, now is the best time. Start investing in you. Thank you for joining me on today's episode. If you would like more information, just head on over to drbethwesty.com for all the show notes and information from today's episode. And if you're looking for more community, more support, you can find and follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and I would love to see you there.